Welcome to the Mike Litton Experience Podcast. Mike has over 31 years experience in real estate, finance, and investing. He's passionate about being a father, a teacher, a realtor, an investor, and a leader. Everyone has a story, and our passion is to help them tell it. And now, introducing the host of the Mike Litton Experience, Mike Litton.
So what can you expect from the Mike Litton Experience? You can expect stories that will inspire, motivate, advice that will sharpen your focus, and expert information on real estate, finance, and market conditions.
The house and there's no recourse. But yeah, so I mean, we didn't have, it wasn't all sunshine and rainbows. We had to do some work. We had tenants that weren't favorable, and I always look back and figured out, like, why did that happen? Well, guess what? I didn't vet them enough, right? Going into it. I didn't call previous landlords, multiple landlords. I didn't probably run credit checks and employment verifications. I didn't get enough security deposit. I was lax with them, where if you give them an inch, they end up taking a mile, right? You let someone be late on rent and not charge them a late fee. Guess what? All of a sudden your rent is late almost all the time or all the time, right?
True.
So, it's things like that, but it's all learning lessons, of course.
I got you. So talk for just a second about the idea of buying multiple units versus a single unit. And the reason I'm asking is Kiyosaki talks about this in his book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and Cash Flow Quadrant, right? Where he talks about if you buy one unit and that unit goes vacant, you're now 100% vacant, right? But if you buy 2 units or 3 units or 4 units, and one of them goes vacant, now if on a 4 unit, one of them goes vacant, you're only 25% vacant, right? Talk about that for a second in terms of the thought process.
Yeah, I think the bigger picture goes to just building a diversified portfolio for real estate investing. So it's okay to have a single family house. I actually think there's a lot of benefits to single family residential properties. I mean, that's mainly what we focus on at Rent Retirement is new construction single family homes. We also have small multi, but I think whether or not you're, talking about just one single family or multiple single family or a small multi-family, that you reduce your risk through having a larger portfolio. You said it perfectly, Mike, where it's like, if you have one rental property and that house goes vacant, then you lose 100% of your income, right? You still have expenses. However, if you have 5 or 10 properties, whether that's in one building, whether that's 5 or 10 single family houses, you reduce your overall risk, where yes, you plan to have vacancies, right? You have 1 or 2 vacancies and you still are positive cash flow because those, the other properties are managing that. So
you're spreading the risk.
Right. No one gets into real estate investing to buy one property and think that that's going to, that could be a starting point, but certainly a scalability model is to build a portfolio, a well-diversified portfolio in different markets across different asset classes, and grow that strategically over time to do whatever you want with real estate, create financial independence, additional income sources, whatever it is.
Gotcha. Okay. So you get out of the Air Force, you decide to move to Colorado, you guys start a family, you get into private practice. Okay. And at some point you make the decision to start Rent to Retirement. Talk about that decision, number one, what the thought process was, that kind of thing, right? And what was the overwhelming desire to do it? What made you want to do it?
Well, we had been investing in real estate since I think about 2012. And just through, like I was talking about, or at least like truly investing, I think we bought our primary residence, our duplex prior to that, but we've been learning about real estate and then starting to invest out of state and like building a process around that, and then helping some people on the side just doing that. Because we had already spent the time and energy to identify the best markets to invest in, to build the local teams and systems from property management, lending, insurance, all the things you need to own a successful portfolio, especially from a distance. And so we had a lot of friends and family and colleagues that were coming to us saying, hey, like we want to start investing in real estate. We don't know how to start or where to start, or our local market's too expensive or doesn't make sense, or we just lack the experience or the time, right? I mean, a lot of people, I think the downside to real estate is it can be a very active job. You can buy yourself another job being a landlord. And so that's kind of I think what a lot of people were asking us to help them with is like, can you just manage this for me? Like, I want to invest in real estate. I see what you're doing. I see the success that you're having. I want to participate in that.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to spend all the time, take all the risk, and do all the work that you've done, as most people would say. So
they want their money to work for them, is what they're saying.
Right. And not buy themselves another job with real estate,
Right.
kind of expedite their process. So
Right.
that was the foundation of Rent to Retirement. Is basically, we've already laid the groundwork of how to identify these markets and how to easily invest in these areas, following the same process and systems and teams that we've built. And so early on, we just helped people do that, right? Just leverage our experience. And then those started with people that were close to us. And then we realized, like, hey, there's a higher demand out there for people that also want to go down this path that we can really help and scale the business from. And so that was the foundation of Rent to Retirement. And I actually started that while I was in the Air Force. And basically started to open up the doors for us to invest in other markets and to help other people outside of just our inner circle.
Right.
And that was kind of the foundation and the growth trajectory from there.
Gotcha. So you found a need, identified a need, and you filled it.
Yeah, absolutely. And continue to fill it and have expanded. We've had growth. Thankfully, we've had growth every single year, which is actually pretty rare in business.
Yeah, it is.
But I think we just continue to serve that need of helping people easily invest in markets across the country where they get the best returns, and handling everything for them, and also providing a lot of educational resources about why are we investing in real estate? How do you strategically maximize the tax benefits in real estate? What type of loan options out there are the best? Like, how do you build a plan, reverse engineer your retirement date? It doesn't happen overnight,
right.
but it doesn't also take a lifetime, right? Or even a decade. Like, you can make big moves in real estate if you have a right plan in place and stay consistent to that plan.
So let's say somebody's listening to this and they're thinking about investing in real estate. If they were to do it, what would be the number one most important reason why they would?
I think the why is different for every single person. So I don't know if I could answer that, Mike, but I can tell you some of the most common things that we hear.
Okay.
People like investing in real estate because it's a tangible asset.
Yeah.
And they believe in it.
Yeah.
So whereas a stock market is really just like an idea or opinion of value that fluctuates quite dramatically based on a lot of factors that you have zero control over. In real
Especially
estate,
lately, right? A lot of volatility. Yeah.
Absolutely. And that's something that's never going to change, right? But it can be easy and mindless to invest in the stock market and a lot of things. Whereas real estate, maybe it takes a little bit more work to educate yourself and to go through the process, but it's a tangible asset that you actually have a lot of control over, right? Now, you don't have control over external factors at a macroeconomic scale, but you own the property. You can choose to operate it as a short-term rental, as a long-term rental, right? You can renovate it. You can adjust the rents. You can decide what type of financing you put on it, what type of tax benefits you take, how you alter those, pull those different levers. We call real estate the ideal investment because it's all the ways that you grow wealth over time. And that's an acronym. I is income, that's your cash flow. D is depreciation, your tax benefits. E is equity that the property builds as the tenant pays the loan down. A is appreciation, because regardless of short-term fluctuations, over the long haul, all real estate appreciates. And then L is leverage. And that's, you combine all those things to really, once you understand that, you can understand how real estate can expedite your wealth, even just, buying one single family house a year, whatever that case is. But people like real estate because it's tangible, they have control, they generally understand the numbers behind it, but they can also see how it can be a predictable path to wealth, to create some sort of financial stability and security, and possibly early retirement.
Yeah.
And I think people have seen, realized that and have seen that more and more today. So that's I think the big whys.
Yeah. So somebody's thinking about getting into real estate. One of the things that they ask about a lot of times is, what are the tax benefits? And what's interesting to me is, if you look at the federal tax code, there are two incentivized, and the two most incentivized activities that you can do according to the federal tax code are owning your own corporation and employing people, and owning rental real estate and renting it out. So the government is incentivizing you through the federal tax code to actually be a landlord, to own a property and rent it out. So let's say that somebody is, because that's one of the reasons why there are more millionaires created in real estate than any other mode. There's no other way out there that's been identified that creates more millionaires than real estate, period. So let's say somebody's interested in working with rent to retirement. How do they go about working with you? What do you guys do for the person off the street that wants to invest in real estate?
Yeah, I want to just address your first question on
Sure,
taxes
absolutely.
real quick, and then go
Absolutely.
into like what our process is, and just to expand on what you're saying, like, yeah, absolutely. Owning a business and creating jobs for people, you get huge tax incentives for, and also creating housing solutions
Yeah.
for people. So it's like the government does this intentionally, incentivizes people that are stimulating the economy.
Mhm.
You get tax incentives by doing what the government wants you to do. That's how
Mhm.
they motivate people to do those things,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
Which is, we have a huge housing shortage in the U.S. We have a deficit of over 7.5 million houses,
Mhm.
a huge affordability crisis for housing in the U.S. And so you're incentivized, to your point, being a real estate landlord, right? But that means, from an ownership standpoint, if you're someone who's willing to go out and do the work to do that, you
Mhm.
can really get ahead and
Yeah.
take advantage of that, because taxes are the biggest expense we're going to earn or pay in our lifetime ever. Like,
Yeah.
total, like, taxes are it. So if you can, like, the easiest way to give yourself another raise is
Mhm.
to pay less taxes, to
Yeah.
by doing things that have tax efficiencies, like investing in real estate. And just to give you a broad picture, this is a little bit of an extreme. But your first initial question is like, what are the general tax benefits that people get through real estate? It's
Mhm.
quite dramatic.
Mhm.
Depreciation is a big one, but your
Yeah.
mortgage interest, when you use leverage, right? Just all the expenses on your property management, and then you can own the property in an LLC and then
Mhm.
possibly have additional tax benefits. But like our business, we are active real estate investors, and we run an 8-figure business,
Mhm.
and we buy enough real estate personally, as my wife and I, every single year, to reduce our tax liability to zero
Mhm.
legally through the tax code. And this is mainly through doing accelerated depreciation, cost
Yeah.
segregation studies. But like, if you think about that, we would otherwise be paying millions of dollars in taxes, like
Yeah.
upwards of 50%, right? Once you combined all the state and federal taxes and all the other things, that's huge.
Yeah.
That means that we have 50% more of our capital to reinvest, to buy more
Mhm.
assets that have additional tax benefits, to snowball the wealth,
Yeah.
right? So it's just being a smart investor like that that can take you and allow you to create financial independence and generational wealth. So anyways, that's my soapbox on taxes,
There you
because
go.
I talk a lot about that. And if anyone's interested to like learn about real estate investing, learn about out of state real estate investing, to learn about working with rent to retirement, I mean, the process is setting up a consultation with our team. We want to learn about your investment goals, your experience, your criteria, your resources, your timeline. We want to take all these things into consideration to help you build out an individual roadmap
Okay.
to learn how to get started and scale your portfolio, investing in real estate in some of the best parts of the country, which we've already built the teams and systems to handle everything for you. And just to be clear, we don't charge investors anything. We make our money through building and selling houses.
Right.
And so, our goal is to add value to everyone we speak with, and help you, even if you don't work with us, at least learn how to get started investing in real estate.
Gotcha. So if somebody's coming in off the street and they put a plan together with you, what you do is you build the real estate and sell it to the investor and help them rent it out and do all the things that they need to do.
We do that for them, so they don't
Yeah.
have to
So it's
use
a
our
plug and
managed.
play.
Yeah, so we have management, right? We have different lending opportunities. Now, you do have to go get the loan. We're not maintaining any ownership of the property. You're 100% of the owner of
Right.
the property. You're 100% in control. So this isn't like a REIT or syndication. Like, you are building your own portfolio, and
Right.
we're handling all the ancillary things for you, helping you put together a plan, helping you identify the best markets where there's best opportunity that match your goals, helping you find the best lending opportunities. And then when you actually buy the property, we're managing it for you as well. So you can have
Gotcha.
all the financial benefits of real estate ownership without having to run the day-to-day operations, right? So that's really what we do for our investors.
So how do you get paid as a company?
We build properties like a builder,
Okay.
right? Or renovate them and resell them. So
Okay.
it's all built into the sales price. And then, of course,
So
like,
you're a developer and or flipper.
yep.
Okay.
And then we have the managerial arm as well.
Okay. See, that's exactly what people want to know. one of the things that I mentioned to people a lot when we talk about the benefits of being a real estate investor, right, is a gentleman that walked into my Keller Williams office that I owned for 18 years here in North San Diego County. It happened to be a Saturday afternoon, and he walked in, and he was 70 years old at the time, and his son was going to school at San Diego State, and his son was living in a duplex not far from where our office was, and it was for sale. And this gentleman had picked our office. How, I don't know, but he picked our office, walked in on a Saturday afternoon, and said, "I want to pay cash for the duplex that my son is living in, and I want him to be able to rent the other side out while he's in school, and then when he's out of school, he can just keep it as a rental property," right? And so I explained to him exactly how it works, the whole thing, and really all he needed was a checkbook, right? And we needed a check to escrow, and we were going to write up the what we call the RPA, the residential purchase agreement, that kind of thing. And he said, "I want to do something real quick. I want you to see my tax return." And he turned to his wife and he said, "Go get my tax return out of the car from last year."
He's got it in the car with him.
Well, she looked at him and she said, "Honey, you don't need you don't need to show him your tax return to do this. You're paying cash." He's paying $800,000 for this duplex. Okay. He's paying cash, right? And he said, "Yeah, but I really like this kid." And I want him to see my tax. So she goes out, gets the tax return reluctantly, right? Comes back in, hands it to him. He goes, "Look at this." And he shows me the Schedule E, everything, right? So he takes me through the whole thing. And he goes, "Look, I make $770,000 a year tax-free," right? And he said, "And if I didn't, I would make $600,000 a year," right? And so he's walking me through how this, right? And he literally looks at me, no joke, literally looks at me and says, "When you grow up, I want you to be just like me." That's the thing I'm talking about, right?
Yeah.
Jared Kushner, who is married to Donald Trump's daughter, right? He's Donald Trump's son-in-law. He and his family were excoriated during the first Trump administration because they never paid taxes. They never paid income taxes. Well, they did it because they're smart. They had enough in the way of depreciation to where they literally had their income coming in tax-free. That's what people should strive for. In California, where I am, the tax rates are upwards of 45% combined. Okay. If you make $1 million, that's $450,000 a year you're paying in taxes, right? If you invest in the right kind of real estate and enough of it with your company, that number can be $1 million instead of zero. You can save yourself $450,000 a year. You don't have to do that very often before you're in a place where your lifestyle has improved and your income and your legacy for your kids and your grandkids and your grandkids' kids is improved.
I love that, Mike, and thank you for walking through that, because that's where it clicks. And I think about the story that you just told, and the older successful gentleman, when he said, "I want you to be like me," it's really, he's saying, "I want you to be educated,"
Yeah.
right? I want you to be sophisticated and educated to know how to play the game, to know how to create wealth for you and your family, to know how to create housing solutions and jobs.
Yeah.
And that's the thing, like, you really, sometimes the media, and I don't want to get too political, but if they jump on the bandwagon of, this person paid no amount of taxes, it's like, well, yeah, they did that because they created X amount of jobs and X amount of housing solutions for people, right? And they stimulated the economy, which is what the government wants you to do, right? To be an entrepreneur and go out and do these things. But I think it can be so powerful. But even just to bring it down a level, for like the average person getting started in real estate, and like why real estate is important, even if you're not going to go out and create a huge business, because that's not everyone wants to do that, and that's not right for everyone. But you can still make big moves with just a really small rental portfolio, and it can be still a very tax advantage portfolio. If you own, say, a handful of rental properties that provide $50,000 annually of income through the cash flow, if you're leveraging and buying the right type of assets and doing it appropriately, like we help investors do, that should really be $50,000 of tax-free income.
Yeah.
Because of the things like depreciation and all the, management and, the expenses on the property, the taxes, the insurance, those are all tax deductions, the mortgage interest you pay. So my point is that $50,000 to what you were saying earlier is that, that's the equivalent of 70, 75, maybe $80,000 of earned income in different parts of the country. So think about that. If you eventually, because rents go up over time, if you owned a property like in 10 or 20 years, if you had $100,000 coming in or $200,000 from your rental portfolio, that could be the equivalent of almost double that of earned income. And most people don't earn that much, right? So it's all about being a strategic investor, but you have to know these things and you have to take action to get started and take action consistently over time.
Yeah, it changes the way you think, right? And his big thing was he wanted to share with me his story. Everybody has a story, right? Like we talked about. And our passion is to help them tell it, right? He was 30 years old. This is literally what happened. He was a very young doctor, a resident at a hospital in Florida, okay? 30 years old, loved to play golf and loved being a doctor. So he's a resident at this hospital, and the roof tiles are falling down onto patients. There are leaks in the roof, and it rains. When it rains in Florida, it really rains in Florida. Okay. There's mold in the building. I mean, there's all these things going on that are not healthy. They're not good working conditions, the whole thing. And the hospital administrative board basically said, we're doing everything we can do to repair what we can. We're doing what we can. We can't afford to build a new hospital. But the residents and the nurses and the staff were all just clamoring for a new facility. He goes out and plays golf one day with a guy who he's talking to that's a commercial real estate broker. And he's telling him about the conditions in the hospital. The real estate broker said, I think we should think about this. I think we should have let's go play golf with a buddy of mine who's a banker. And he literally does construction loans on commercial construction. I think we should think about going out and buying a piece of land, building a hospital, and then leasing it out to the hospital. True story. When he was 33 years old, that hospital was finished. From the time that he was 33 years old all the way up to 70, he had been leasing that building to the hospital. How flippin' cool is that? And he was a resident there, right?
I love it.
I mean, think about it, right? Everything he made from the age of 33 on was all tax-free, all of it. And that was his story. That was what he wanted to share with me, right? And, in Florida, they don't have state income tax, but even the federal income tax, like he was talking about, could eat you alive, when you go up in terms of levels and all that, right? So anyway, there is so much in the way of advantage for people tax-wise and income-wise and wealth-wise when it comes to investing in real estate that I'm super, super excited about what you're doing, because what you're doing for them is making it easy. You're making it more simple, right? So we're going to put a link to your website in your description for the episode. Is there anything else any other way that you prefer people get a hold of you?
The website is the best place to go. That's renttoretirement.com, renttoretirement.com. If you're listening in the car, you can also text REI to 33777 to set up a call with our team. But we have our own podcast and YouTube channel. We put out a lot of information about tax, about market analysis, about real estate investing in general. And we're just happy to share the knowledge, because real estate has been so impactful on my life. It's allowed my wife and I to create a lifestyle that we, otherwise wouldn't have. Yeah. Not that we had a bad one. We were both doctors earning six-figure income. Yeah. And I think a good way to kind of tie this around, Mike, is that there's some people that come to me, like our old colleagues in optometry, and they kind of tell me, they're like, I'm glad that you found your passion, or you realized optometry wasn't right for you, or something like that. And I always correct them, because I remind them that that's not the case. I'm very passionate about helping people see. I'm still licensed, and so is my wife, and we work on a volunteer basis. And actually, we've had a larger global impact because we're in a better financial position and we have more time to do that. Because when we set up cataract clinics throughout third world countries, we're going to Vietnam in another month to provide cataract surgery clinics that are sustainable in those areas which we're funding. But my point is that real estate has allowed us to create that lifestyle that we wouldn't have otherwise had, and to have more of an impact
Yeah.
The interesting thing is more impact on people's lives and helping more people see because of that. And so real estate is just, we're super passionate about helping people in real estate. And I think it's just, as you mentioned earlier, there's more millionaires made in real estate than any other asset class. And it's just the most predictable path to wealth that's tax efficient. It's one of the oldest forms of investing because it's a human necessity. It's housing, if you're talking about residential real estate. So it's just something I think everyone needs to at least be aware of and maybe participate in to some degree.
Yeah, I agree with that. And the effect that real estate has had on your life, it can have on other people's lives too, right? They can build a lifestyle like what you have, and they can take their influence and go worldwide like you guys have. And that's awesome. I commend you for that. And I'm super, super happy for you. And I'm really, really excited that you were our guest on the Mike Litton Experience. Thanks again for being here, bud.
Thanks for having me on.
Appreciate you. We hope you enjoyed another episode of the Mike Litton Experience. If you did, do us a favor, smash that subscribe button, tell your friends, family, and coworkers about our program, and wherever you get your podcasts, please leave us a rating. It helps us to connect with quality people just like you.
And that's a wrap. Another episode of the Mike Litton Experience in the books. Reach out to Mike on Instagram at Litton Realty. Want to meet with Mike? Check out calendly.com/Rio760.